Chimpanzees, our closest relatives. The look in their eyes tells us how close that bond is, and their behavior fascinates us. This is the story of 3 families of chimps. Their lives, like ours, are full of tenderness and play. But there is another side. These chimps can hunt and kill. The chimps live in Gombe National Park on the shores of Lake Tanganyika. It's here that American scientist Bill Wallower lives and works.
I first arrived in Gombe in 1992, about this time of day. Beautiful kind of golden light in the evening, and within a half an hour of my arrival, an adult male chimp arrived on the beach. When I first saw him, my heart skipped a beat. Just the look in his eyes, the intelligence. I followed him into the forest and he nested, and it was just the most kind of amazing kind of couple hours of my life. When I first arrived in Gombe 8 years ago, I had no idea that I would still be here at this point. And I think more than anything, it's because I continue to be fascinated by what I see.
Bill's studies continue a long tradition started in the 1960s by Jane Goodall. She pioneered the study of chimpanzees in the wild. The many thousands of hours of observation have revealed a great deal about chimpanzee life, and over the years these wild animals have grown accustomed to human presence. Today, the chimps just carry on with their private lives unaffected by the presence of scientists like Bill.
There are 3 groups of chimps in Gombe. The largest and best known is the Kaskala community. It has 45 members, with several dominant families. Some of the families stretch over 3 generations and are full of real characters, just like any human family. This is something that all the researchers know well. Mr. Hilali, who's the leader of the field researchers, loves discussing the day-to-day lives of the chimp families. After 30 years here, he knows as much about chimps as anyone alive, and much of what I know I've learned from him.
The work of Hilale and the other researchers has meant that each chimp is known as an individual and has a name.
Fifi is the oldest and certainly the most successful female at Gombe. At 42, she has 7 living offspring, far more than any other female here. One of Fifi's skills as a mother is instilling enormous confidence in her babies. Her latest is called Flirt. Frodo is Fifi's second son. He's the alpha male of the community, and he uses his massive size and strength to intimidate the other chimps.
He'll even throw rocks at his adversaries.
Though Frodo has the reputation of being a bully, he occasionally shows a gentler side, like when he plays with Flirt and the other offspring here. Gremlin is a compassionate and patient mother. She's going to need those skills because recently she gave birth to twins. Twins are rare, and it's a real challenge to keep them alive. Of all the chimps at Gombe, Frodo's son Titan is the most fun to watch. When you're with Titan, there's never a dull moment.
The chimp's world is composed of steep valleys and hillsides. It's clothed in dense forest, but the higher ground is more open with grass and scattered trees. From June to September, it's the dry season, and the chimps are frequently on the move, looking for food. The youngsters of the group take any and every opportunity to mess around and play, but they risk being left behind. Titan in particular likes to take things to the limit. Another young male, Fudge, grabs a lift with his mum. Her swollen backside is a clear signal she's ready to mate. Bill knows that Fudge's life will change when his mum has a new baby, but that is all in the future. For Bill, today is like any other day, following the chimps for miles, watching and recording their behavior. The chimps have found a most peculiar food. It's the old dead flowers of a palm. The dry, dusty fibers look unappetizing, but the chimps relish them, probably for the salts and minerals in the tough fibers. And while the adults feast on their high-fiber diet, one of the twins plays swing with Mummy's hair. But tension is never far from the surface of the group. A male displays his frustration below a female. He'd like to mate, but he's worried that the top or alpha male, Frodo, might show up. When Frodo's around, nobody dares approach a female. The chimps are rightly nervous. Frodo dominates the males with his strength and size, and he can be mean to the females too. One of the old males puts an arm around the giant Frodo. By grooming the alpha male, he's currying favor and so gains influence amongst the competing males. Time to move and find more food. Gremlin, the twins' mum, has a full load, and there's a steep climb ahead for the chimps.
The dry season in Gombe can look harsh, with dead grass and leafless trees. But for the chimps, there's still plenty of food around. Most of it's in these lush valleys below. But the food the chimps seem to relish most of all takes a 2,000-foot climb to the farthest reaches of their range. It's the Muhandi season, and from my experience in years past, it's well worth the climb. The food is absolutely delicious.
Muhandi is a small but very sweet fruit, and the chimps will go to great lengths to feed upon it. The journey is not always smooth, particularly if a twin wants to make an unscheduled stop. Frodo has a female in tow. To the intense frustration of all the other males, he guards those females that are ready to mate. Gremlin is not involved in such sexual politics. She has her hands full with the twins and her older daughter. Muhandi is such a favorite of the chimps that they hoot with excitement at the sight of it. The chimps will spend 6 weeks up on the higher slopes feeding on Muhandi, or as long as it takes to eat the lot. Titan and his mum Patty get stuck into the sweet fruit. There is a new addition to the family. Patty has given birth to a baby boy. Now Titan's life will change. He's no longer the center of Patty's attention. A group of adult males arrive with one thing on their minds: They've been denied access to the females by Frodo, and the frustration and tension has become too much. One male attempts to mate, and a fight breaks out. Frodo arrives, bristling with anger. Now there'll be trouble. The other males scream with fear and grab each other for reassurance, but Frodo launches a brutal attack, biting, kicking and punching. Frodo's rule is absolute, but there is an outlet for the otherwise frustrated males. For chimps, like humans, have an incest taboo, and so the males can mate with Frodo's sister. Chimps have no inhibitions, and Fudge watches his mum mating. The Mahandi trees are on the highest ridges. The chimps' world ends at the skyline, for that is the boundary of the park. Beyond the park lie the dry fields of poor farmers. To eke a living from the soil, the farmers set fire to the grass. The ash will help fertilize future crops. But if the wind changes direction, the flames can quickly spread towards the park and the chimps. The fire is out of control. There is nothing that can stop its progress now. It burns for nights and days. How will the chimps react? What do they understand about fire? The upper slopes are scorched. Where are the chimps? The chimps reappear unscathed. They sheltered in the highest woods as the fire swept around them. Now they descend the blackened landscape, crutch walking over the steepest slopes. The chimps are heading for the wooded valleys and more food. Flirt joins her mum Fifi in a fig tree. Gremlin fills up on figs after the long trek downhill. Her twins are a month older than Flirt, but much smaller, a sure sign of the great strain they place on their mum. There are other primates in Gombe that share the chimps' world, like colobus monkeys. The colobus are uneasy. The mothers and their babies are of particular interest to the chimps, and that interest is not innocent. Below on the forest floor, troops of baboons are on the lookout for their next meal. The stream is home for freshwater crabs. They make a tasty, if somewhat crunchy, morsel.
Baboons and the other wildlife at Gombe see the stream as just a place to drink and find food, but flowing water seems to mean much more for the chimps. For reasons which aren't entirely clear, a waterfall like this one triggers an amazing response.
The beauty of the waterfall seems to affect the chimps. They perform displays not out of aggression, but from wonder at nature. Does moving water, always flowing and yet ever present, affect the chimps the way it does us? We may never know, but their excitement is clearly evident. Safely out of sight of the adults, a young male practices his display, just as excited, but not quite as polished a performer as his elders. By the afternoon, if the chimps have fed well, they often get together to relax and play. Galahad is Gremlin's son. He's always full of energy and ready to play. He loves rough and tumble play, and with a smile on his face.
Fifi relaxes amongst the mayhem, but by late afternoon it's time to make a bed for the coming night. Gremlin has to build an extra large one. She even provides a leafy pillow for the twins.
When I leave the chimps after they've settled down for the evening, I wonder how they spend their long hours of darkness. We do know that chimps rarely leave their nests, but do they sleep soundly through the night? When they're lying awake, looking up at the sky, do they contemplate the stars or a full moon? When they dream, what do they dream about? Do they have pleasant dreams or even nightmares, remembering the fire or a vicious attack by Frodo? Maybe they're even thinking about what tomorrow might bring.
Hungry, the chimps rise early and head for the beach. They don't spend much time here, but the chimps know that in the dry season there is a bush with tasty leaves.
Chimps occasionally come to the beach to feed. Baboons can be found here on a daily basis. Their diet is much more diverse. They can spend hours digging among the small rocks for food. When chimps and baboons meet, anything can happen, particularly when Titan's involved. He's got a style all of his own. He's learned to scare young baboons by throwing things at them. But he's not always on target. It'll be a while before Titan can really throw his weight around.
The chimps soon retreat into the cool of the forest, but the baboons stay out in the midday sun, even in the torrid heat of the dry season. But there's an escape, and the young baboons head straight for the water. The water is just pure fun, and the youngsters enjoy every moment. They even do the backstroke. But while the baboons play, the chimps are preparing to hunt and kill. Frodo advances with a purposeful air. Other males join Frodo. They too watch the colobus monkeys. In particular, they are interested in the mothers with their babies. Chimps are not purely vegetarian, and these males are planning a hunt. They want to drive the monkeys into tall, isolated trees. The chimps close in. In the confusion, Frodo sees an opening and snatches a baby from its mother. Then a remarkable thing happens. Frodo spots another opportunity. He races in to take a second young monkey. Frodo is not just the top male, he's the best hunter in the group. With fresh meat, even Frodo becomes popular. The meat is shared out, but you have to beg for your morsel. And the longer you beg, the better your chances. Some veg with a meat course? Perseverance pays off, even if all you get is a scrap of monkey tail. Apart from the hunt, the males work together in only one other activity, an activity that is crucial to the whole group. Mothers, like Gremlin with her twins, are left behind. They will not go with the males on the patrol, a journey to the furthest boundaries of the chimp's world. It's too dangerous for them.
Before they start the patrol, the males gather to groom one another. They have been competitors, fought brutal battles over females. Now they must have complete confidence in each other. Their lives may depend on it. Even Frodo will groom the other males, something he rarely does, as the Casacala group builds up mutual bonds of trust. Soon the males may meet chimps from the other group. Their concentration is intense as they psych themselves up. This is a dangerous time. Chimps have been killed in past encounters.
The adults are chillingly silent. The atmosphere is tense as they travel over the open slopes. They are headed to the high ridge that marks the limit of their territory. Will they see the enemy? And if they do, what will happen? Chimps from the other group on the far ridge. What will they do? The other group decides to run. There will be no bloody battle this time. The tension drains away. The males let off steam by drumming. While the boundaries of the Casacala group are defined by patrols, there is an absolute limit to the chimp's world, set by the national park. On its northern boundary lies the village of Mongongo. 40 years ago, there were just 100 fishermen here. The village has grown to over 7,000 people. The vast majority are under 15 years old. All these young people deserve a future. They need food and firewood to cook with. Where will it come from? The demands of the village could threaten the future of the park and the chimps. But the immediate threat is of rain, for the long dry season has come to an end. The rain sweeps across the lake from Zaire and onto the shores of Gombe. This is the first rain for months, and the chimp's reaction is startling. They begin a ritual. The chimps only perform the rain dance when the first heavy rains arrive. Is it an expression of their surprise at the rain after so many months? Does the dance reflect their awe at the power and mystery of nature? Where did the rain come from? We can't really know, But it may be the first stirrings of religion, the chimps celebrating their wonder as our ancestors once celebrated the seasons. Once the adults have left, a youngster takes the stage to show off his excitement at the start of the rainy season. The rains may have a spiritual meaning for the chimps, but physically they mean cold, wet misery, especially for the young twins. Come rain or shine, Bill keeps up his observations, walking as much as 24 kilometers a day to keep in contact with the chimps. They often split into smaller groups in the rainy season and are more difficult to find.
After a big rain like the one last night, the chimps climb high and try to get dried off. This small group's just grooming and chilling out, trying to get some rest.
There is one benefit to all the rain. The soil softens and termites are able to tunnel upwards. They're now in reach of the chimps and their fishing tools. The chimps come together around the termite mound, and it's a great opportunity for youngsters to learn the skills of making and using a rod to fish for termites. Titan already knows how to do it. But the twins have a long way to go. They'll learn from watching their mum in the coming years. Galahad is a real expert, and he quickly fills his stomach with the nutritious and nutty-flavored termites. The twins have lost interest. It's too hard for them, and so they begin to play. Galahad wants to move on, and there's one way to make sure Gremlin comes with him, and that's to kidnap one of the twins. Mum will just have to follow now. In the confusion, Gremlin's older daughter, Gaia, has been left behind. She hasn't seen the rest of the family slip away. She's too small to be alone in the forest. Gaia looks for her mum. The forest suddenly seems much bigger and more frightening. Gaia searches high and low as she becomes ever more upset. All alone, the youngster begins to panic. Gremlin is no more than a few hundred meters away, but for Gaia it could be the other side of the planet. Gremlin and the twins pause and wait for Gaia. This is just part of the pain of growing up for the young Gaia, now safely reunited with her family. When the clouds clear and the sun has a chance to warm the ground, then something wondrous happens. Winged adult termites appear. They have one goal, to find a mate and start a new colony. But of the millions that emerge, few will survive. Hawks patrol the skies, taking the insects on the wing. Baboons snatch the resting termites from the greenery. Gremlin's family has found the source of flying termites. Gaia snatches them from the air, all the while trying to avoid the biting termites on the ground. Termite catching can be a skillful and rewarding pastime. The quiet of a post-termite siesta is broken by Frodo's arrival. After he kicks his mum, nobody wants to go near the big bully. Gaia has recovered from her adventure and decides to cuddle one of the twins. The chimps begin to relax, and the adult males decide to goof about with the youngsters. The rough and tumble play can get pretty intense. And the twins decide it might be safer with Mum. Little Fudge gets hurt playing with the big boys. Fudge is still upset and seeks comfort from his mum. But she's pregnant and doesn't want to suckle him. In a tantrum, Fudge decides to take it out on an adult male. A mistake. Much chastened, Fudge watches from the safety of Mum's arms. The great hurly-burly of social life disguises the fact that all is not well with the chimps. The forest is strangely quiet. Bill looks for the normally noisy chimps. What could have happened?
The first indication that there was a problem here in Gombe, I arrived at the group and found that several of the chimps were nested. I heard coughs and I looked and they had sniffly noses. And in fact, every chimp there had a respiratory infection. And within a few days, I realized that it's a very, very serious problem. Frodo's incredibly ill and several of them have gone missing. In the beginning, I thought Frodo was the most seriously affected by the epidemic. Frodo was so ill that baboons could approach and touch him. He was too close to death to respond. For 3 days, I just sat nearby and watched him struggle for life. Little did I know during this time, Galahad, who's one of my favorite chimps in the world, was dying, and one of the hardest things I have ever done was kind of walk up and see Galahad's body. It's always very difficult to know where an infection comes from like this. It's not uncommon for respiratory infections during the rainy season to inflict the chimps, but one of this severity, in which nearly every chimp in the community has it, could be a human source.
We cannot be sure. But miraculously, most chimps survived. Gremlin and her delicate twins, Fanny and her son Fudge. Mum is pregnant and the baby is kicking, ready to be born. Frodo has regained his appetite, both for food and for sex. And a sure sign things are getting back to normal, Frodo displays. To stop future outbreaks of disease, new rules have been introduced. A quarantine period for researchers, boots to be disinfected before going into the forest, and a greater distance between human and chimp. These measures may save chimp lives. Fanny's baby is born safe and sound, a symbol of hope for the future. But Fanny is nervous about returning to the group. She fears the other females might attack her baby. Eventually, she joins the other members of her family. Here, she and the new baby are likely to be safe. But Fudge now has a younger brother, and he feels left out. He doesn't even want to play with the other youngsters. Fanny gave birth early, and Fudge is really too young to be rejected by his mum. He feels abandoned, and life is going to be hard for him without a caring mum. While the other mums and Fanny climb a tall tree to reach some fruit, tired and hungry, poor Fudge just looks on. He's really too weak to make it. Impassive, Fanny looks down. Her responsibility is to her new baby. Fudge is in trouble, and his future as a successful male is threatened by this setback. Titan, on the other hand, goes on from strength to strength. Since his mother had her new baby, Titan has been practicing the art of intimidation on cheeky baboons. His skill at throwing rocks has improved. And he knows how to hustle. He's definitely Frodo's son, and a chip off the old block. All this posturing should prove useful when he's a big male, but that's some time off. And when Titan chases a large adult baboon into the bushes, he takes on more than he bargained for. The baboon turns on Titan, but attacks his mum. Titan looks on, innocently. The future for Titan and all the chimps at Gombe depends on events outside the park. The chimps are trapped in their paradise. Farmers' fields stretch right up to the park boundaries. There was once forest where these fields are today. Miles of agricultural land separate the chimps from the nearest forest and others of their kind. But there is hope. These children are planting saplings. It's part of a scheme called Roots and Shoots set up by the Jane Goodall Institute. If the trees grow, they will provide firewood for the local people and a leafy corridor down which the Gombe chimps may travel sometime in the future.
Gombe has been protected for over half a century. The chimps here are among the best known and studied animals on the planet, thanks to the work of Jane Goodall. If the new programs designed to help both people and wildlife succeed, then many of the problems that assail Gombe will be overcome. Golden, Glitter, and Flirt may someday become mothers. The troubled and troublesome Fudge and Titan may grow up to be powerful males, and Gombe will remain a safe haven for them and future generations. I hope so.